10 Facts about World War II. Number 1. United States produced more than 300,000 airplanes during the war, which was more than any other country in the world at the time. This massive production of airplanes played a significant role in the Allied victory, allowing for air superiority over the Axis powers in many key battles. Number 2. The British government developed a top-secret program called Operation Mincemeat to deceive the Germans about the location of the Allied invasion of Sicily in 1943. The operation involved placing a dead body carrying false documents off the coast of Spain, hoping that the Germans would find them and be convinced that the Allies were planning to invade Greece rather than Sicily. The deception was successful, and the Allies were able to achieve surprise in the invasion of Sicily, a critical turning point in the war. Number 3. During World War II, the Soviet Union used women pilots in combat, forming 3 all-female aircrew regiments known as the Night Witches. These women flew over 30,000 missions, often in outdated, rickety biplanes, and were tasked with harassing German troops at night. They were called the Night Witches by the Germans due to their ability to fly silently and drop bombs with pinpoint accuracy, and became known as some of the most daring and skilled pilots of the war. Number 4. The Nazi regime in Germany tried to establish a super soldier program by giving its soldiers performance-enhancing drugs such as methamphetamine. The drug, known as Pervitin, was used by soldiers to help them stay awake and alert for longer periods, and was distributed widely throughout the German army. However, the side effects of the drug included addiction, paranoia, and hallucinations, which ultimately led to a decline in the soldiers' mental and physical health. Number 5. The United States military recruited Native American code talkers who used their indigenous languages to create secret codes that the enemy could not break. The Navajo language was particularly effective as a code because it was unwritten and had a complex grammar structure that was difficult for non-speakers to learn. The code talkers played a vital role in the war, relaying messages between units and helping to ensure the success of critical missions. Number 6. The United States government established internment camps for Japanese Americans during the war. Approximately 120,000 Japanese Americans, most of whom were U.S. citizens, were forced to leave their homes and businesses on the West Coast and were relocated to camps in remote areas of the country. This action was taken out of fear that Japanese Americans would be a security threat, but it has since been widely criticized as a violation of their constitutional rights. In 1988, the U.S. government formally apologized for the internment and provided reparations to survivors. Number 7. The Soviet Union had a battalion of trained dogs, which were trained to run towards enemy tanks carrying explosive charges on their backs. The idea was that the dogs would be able to run under the tanks, and the explosives would detonate, disabling or destroying the tanks. However, the plan failed because the dogs were trained on Soviet tanks and did not recognize the German tanks as the enemy, so they ran back towards the Soviet lines, causing explosions and casualties among their own troops. Number 8. The Nazi regime established a research program aimed at developing long-range guided missiles that could strike targets in the United States. The program was led by Wernher von Braun, who later became a key figure in the American space program. The most famous missile developed by the program was the V-2 rocket, which was the world's first long-range ballistic missile and was used by the Germans to attack targets in Britain towards the end of the war. The V-2 rocket was a precursor to the intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, that would play a major role in the Cold War. Number 9. The Soviet Union had a special sniper unit that was made up entirely of women. The unit, called the Third Shock Army's First Belarusian Front, was formed in 1942 and was initially made up of 30 women. The unit's most successful sniper was a woman named Lyudmila Pavlichenko, who was credited with 309 kills during the war. Pavlichenko was later invited to the White House by President Franklin D. Roosevelt, becoming the first Soviet citizen to be received by an American president. Number 10. The Japanese launched a series of balloon bombs, which were unmanned hot air balloons equipped with incendiary devices, in an attempt to start forest fires in the western United States. The balloons were launched from Japan and carried by the jet stream across the Pacific Ocean. While the balloons caused little damage, they did cause one of the only civilian casualties on the U.S. mainland during the war. A group of Sunday school children and their teacher in Oregon discovered one of the balloons and were killed when it exploded.